Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. So, I'm super excited today for our guest that we are sitting down with here on our podcast, Robert Kennedy III, or also known as RK3. And he is the president and also the chief storyteller at Kinetic Communications, which basically he is an expert in helping real estate professionals, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals increase and improve their communication skill sets in-person situations, presentation situations, on video if you're doing a lot of video marketing, and also through virtual meetings as well, which, as we all know, is very popular now. Ever since 2020 and the pandemic. But we're going to be going into all these strategies today: how to become a better communicator with your clients, how to be a better salesperson, and also how to become a better leader as well. So if you're in a leadership position, this is going to be very helpful for you too. So without further ado, man, Robert, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I want to welcome you.
I appreciate it. Listen, I'm a speaker, and when we get on stage, we really kind of connect with the audience a little bit, and we want to make sure that we bring the energy. So do me a favor, just say that one more time and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Robert Kennedy III." All right, ready? Go ahead.
All right, we'll do it. Well, if you guys are ready, ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you guys Robert Kennedy III. Oh man, I love it. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
great episode.
let's go.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome. Well, man, dude, so this is already off to a really good start. But for people who don't know you or who haven't heard about who you are, would you mind just sharing a little bit about who you are? How did you get started in this industry, and how did you become this expert at communication that you are today?
Well, my journey is windy. Most people would like to hear this straightforward idea. I went to school and then I came out of college and said, I'm going to be a real estate agent. And that was it. That wasn't what happened for me. I was in the mental health space for 3 years. I was a seventh grade teacher for 1 year. I was a high school teacher for 7 years. And then I taught college online for 2 years. And while I was teaching, I started several businesses. I started a video, not a video, a music, an online music portal, and connected an internet radio station to it. This was in the 2000s, early 2000s. And then I did a web development company. And then I became a real estate agent in the middle of all of that stuff. So this was back in the day before the bubble where you could literally open up your front door and sell a house. You didn't have to work that hard. You just needed to breathe. And so that was my genesis in the real estate space. I left the real estate industry for quite a while because I moved to a new state, and the license wasn't reciprocal and the requirements were harder, so I didn't do it until 2022. I decided I wanted to get my license again. So I'm here in the state of Maryland. I got my license again, but by that time I had a training company, and I had been training in different industries, technical training, and then moved into leadership and communication training. And so when I got my license again, I said, you know what? Let me not do the training company during the day and then come home and put the real estate hat on at night. Let's just combine the two of them. So I speak about communication and storytelling in the real estate spaces, in the real estate industry. So at conferences, conventions, brokerages, associations, doing all of that.
That's awesome, man. So you combine your two, like the two things that you were already doing, and you just
Yeah.
made it something that's pretty much like your new business moving forward. So there's going to be, I think, a lot of interesting things in that, because there's communication experts out there, there's real estate experts, but once you're in both industries, you know a lot of the kind of nuances of the real estate industry. So it's going to be, I think, a lot easier to have that conversation as well. So really, the first thing I just comes to mind is there's agents out there, kind of doing the business on a day-to-day basis, right? They think they're doing the right things. They think they're, crushing it with communication. But I'm sure, when you look at deeply and analyze their communication skill sets, probably not how, as good as they think it is, right? If that makes
Yeah.
sense. So what would you say are some of the things that real estate agents need to improve on when it comes to their communication with their clients, on a day-to-day basis?
It comes down to the connection, right? There are a lot of conversations that we have, and we immediately begin to sell in those conversations. We walk up to people and we may have the real estate tag on. Somebody asked us, and we start to immediately launch in, oh, yep, I'm in this area. I work with this realty or this brokerage, etc. How do we connect with people from an emotional perspective? I can't tell you how many videos I've seen online on YouTube and all the channels where it's, hey, I'm Robert. I'm a real estate agent. I'm with XXX Realty. Oh, XXX. That's porno. I shouldn't say that. All right. I'm with I'm with blah 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 Realty, and I've been with them for 5 years, and I sell 5 million in sales per year, and I'd love to list your house. And then they go into some conversation. Why not connect with people and figure out what they want? So I've got this great video on my channel for a company, and I'll say the name of the company, Nava Realty out of Texas. One of the things that I loved that they did from a storytelling perspective, it's brilliant. They would do a video tour of a house, and they would, let's say they walked into the kitchen at first. They ask this question. They say, if this were your house, what's the first meal that you're cooking here? Right? Or they say, who you inviting over for dinner if this was your house? And so what that does is it causes the person, the prospect, the client, to now go into their Rolodex in their brain, go through this and sort through all of the different experiences they've had, and begin to answer questions about the experience that they want to have. So making sure that you create connection with people is the biggest idea that I would say that agents need to take on.
Yeah, so it's not just about kind of presenting the home, right? Or presenting like, the object or product that you're selling. It's about
Right.
creating a connection between the consumers and also what they're going to be buying, right? Which in the real estate agent's case is going to be the home. So you're really big, I think, on storytelling, right? And I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of agents are, great storytellers. They don't, implement a lot of storytelling in their sales pitch. They don't implement a lot of storytelling in their marketing. They just kind of
Yeah.
market the generic, hey, here's fall. There's a 5 things you need to do in the fall, or and
Yep.
different things like that. So when it comes to crafting a story, how important is it for an agent to do that, and where should they start when it comes to crafting a story, not just for like every home that they're selling, but also their themselves, right? Themselves as a real estate professional and how they can serve you.
I'll answer that by sharing another story. So there were these guys, their names are Rob and Josh. They decided that they were going to figure out how storytelling made a difference in communicating with people. So what they did was they went to yard sales, and they just bought a whole lot of different random objects at the yard sales. They spent about $200 buying objects from the yard sales. It just random stuff, Trojan horse heads, little you know, little items, just whatever. Those things that they put on the wall units. Right? Little knickknacks that you have around your house. So they decided that they were going to hire some of their friends or get some of their friends who were journalists to write stories about each of these objects and then put them on eBay. So they spent $200. They wrote stories about all of the objects, put the objects on eBay, sold all of them, ended up making more than $8,000 on eBay from random objects. And I'm not just making this up. The website is significantobjects.com. If you can go look up the story yourself. And so what they were looking at proving was, hey, if we just put this random toy horse head on eBay, is it going to sell for $2, which was what we bought it for, or can we get it to sell for $80? So the idea inside of all of that is people have seen objects before. They've seen houses before. But how does the house fit them? What experience will they have in the house? There's a difference between saying 2-bedroom house with a deck and you saying in your listing, imagine what it would be like sitting out on a deck, lay back on a lawn chair, sipping a Mai Tai, in July or whatever it is. Hit that experience and use storytelling to do it.
Yeah. So it's all about the experience of the consumer, right? So you want to make sure that you're not just, you're selling the experience, the dream, right, of what the
Yep.
result's going to be, instead of, just the thing that's going to get you to that result, right? Because people don't connect
Yeah.
necessarily with that. They connect with the problems that you're going to be helping them solve. instead
Yeah.
of the thing that's going to help them solve the problem. So, what about like on the individual side, right? Because there's a lot of agents who they don't necessarily have their own story of like why you got into real estate. So I think in the beginning, you told a really great story of how you got into becoming the expert communications coach for
Yeah.
real estate agents and how that all came to be. But I don't think when an agent starts, when they're starting to pitch their services, if you will, to a client, they don't necessarily have a story of like, hey, here's how I got into real estate. Here's, the reason why. Here's how I'm going to be able to help you. And this is why I'm passionate. I think a lot of clients connect with that to some degree as well. So, have you seen that? It's been kind of a lacking point for a lot of agents in the industry. And is that something that people should be working on?
Well, most people don't care about why you got into real estate. Matter of fact, they don't care that you are a real estate agent, how many houses you've sold, what are the letters behind your name, are you an ABR? See, they don't care about any of that stuff. They care about themselves. I don't know if you've heard the statement, most people are tuned into the frequency WIIFM, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Right? And so as an agent, I want to be able to share with people that I'm a human being, that I understand the experiences that they're having or the emotions they're feeling. And so, even if I don't have the story of why I got into real estate, I might have the story of I remember when I bought my first home. Or I might have the story of I remember getting out of college and going to try to rent my first apartment. Whatever it is that is real and can connect with an experience that your customer, your client, your prospect may have had, or something that they may even want to avoid. Figure out how you can connect with those tissues, those experiences inside of them, and don't worry about the your origin story of why you got into real estate.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good point because I think a lot of agents, when they have their bios, right? If you just look at their like social media bios,
Mhm.
or like on their website, it's all about, who they are as an agent, how much awards they've won, if, what kind of top producing, percentage they're at their brokerage or anything like that. And it really doesn't matter to the clients, right? The clients, they don't care if you're a top producing agent or an award winner or not. They care if you can
Yeah.
help them get to what they want. So I think I love that you mentioned, it's even more beneficial to share like your story of potentially buying your first home or maybe selling your house and what went right and what went wrong because that connects more with your clients than, hey, I've been in the industry 20 years. I got into real estate because of this and this and this, and I've won all of these awards ever since, and that's how I can help you, right? That doesn't resonate with what the
Yeah.
client is trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember my first experience. As I shared this with some clients, I remember my first experience of buying a home. When you're a first time home buyer, you see a house, you think the process is going to be, yep, get on MLS, identify house, see house, go sit in the bank, sign paperwork, and get house, move furniture in. And it's not that simple, right? You got to think about home inspections, you got to think about home warranties, you got to think about insurances that you need, you got to think about the different types of loans that are possible. Is it FHA, is it conventional, how much do I need to put down, do I need to do that with you, do I need to do it with the bank, who are the people inside of this, what do you mean I need a title attorney, and we got to go over, I got to get a close, what is all that stuff? Right? And so um, I might say to a home buyer, this is a dream. It's a really great experience. And 5 months from now, 6 months from now, you're gonna look back and you're gonna really be enjoying this home. I want to share with you that the first part of it, there are a lot of different steps. But don't worry, I'm here to guide you through all of that step by step, and you're not going to be alone in the journey.
That's the correct way, I think. That's the correct way to communicate with people.
Yeah.
And and just thinking about kind of what the state of the real estate industry now, what would you say are some things that agents need to be working on, especially now with the new NAR settlement and all the
Yeah.
news and the negativity surrounding real estate agents, what should they be doing even better or even more now when it comes to communicating both with their seller clients and with their
Yeah.
buyer clients to really really communicate their value without it feeling like people are being ripped off because I think there's a lot of clients that feel that way.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is that agents themselves have to make sure that they have clear understanding of what it is and what the messaging is that prospective clients or customers are getting, because prospective customers are hearing and they're some are trying to leverage it or use it to their advantage. Hey, I heard we didn't have to do this, et cetera, et cetera. And they're making up stories. They're getting their news from a lot of different sources, online, Facebook, wherever they're getting their information from. So the agents have to be clear. And then as the agents are clear, they may want to start out the process by not making assumptions of people, asking them questions. Hey, listen, yeah, there's this NAR settlement that has taken place. What is your understanding of it? Or what do you know about it? What have you heard? And as people say, well, I heard this and I heard this and that. Okay, yeah, that's right. That's actually correct. Here is where the reality differs, or here's the difference from what you've heard. And let me show it to you. Right? So, it's not that all of a sudden this person pays and that person doesn't pay and it's not negotiable. It's always been negotiable. We just need to talk about it in a different way. And that's it. So they've got to ask questions, make sure that they have an understanding of what people know, what prior knowledge people are coming in with, and what expectations they may have.
Getting data, right? You have to know
Yeah.
what you're dealing with first before you can, pitch
Yeah.
something or try to explain something. I think that's a mistake I think a lot of people make is they try to explain something without even trying to understand what the other party is,
Yeah.
what their knowledge is, what their opinions, what their attitude towards something is, right? So I love that question that you brought up, which is, what have you heard about
Yeah.
this, right? Because it's a little bit different from, I don't know if you that was intentional, but it's a little bit different from what do you know? Because what
Right.
do you know? You're assuming that they know everything. What have you heard? Is there might be some things that you've heard are correct, but there might be
Yeah.
some things that are incorrect. And let's
That's
bridge
right.
that gap and make sure you have all the right information so we can move forward in a positive and conducive way.
Yeah. And pointing that out to people, because a lot of the language is already written in a lot of the contracts and the agreements that we have them sign. Anyway, we just used to skip over a lot of things based on, assumed information. And so now that you can clarify what they've heard, what they're assuming, what their expectations are, you can say, yeah, these are the expectations. As a matter of fact, let me show it to you so that we're both on the same page and we're both clear. I want to make sure that you're not signing any paperwork. And this is not just between me and you. I want to make sure that as we go through the entire process with the inspectors, with the closing agents, with everybody that's a part of this process, that you don't feel isolated by yourself and like all of this is over your head. I'm here with you. And that's another opportunity for you to establish trust with your client.
Yeah. So, something I've picked up, just from kind of what you've been saying is, a lot of times, what you want to communicate with the client as an agent is you don't want to make them feel like that they're alone, right? You
Yeah.
want to make sure that you make it feel like that, and you want to make it, actually as well as you're servicing them, but that you're standing there with them throughout the
Yep.
process, right? Because again, buying, selling a house, there's a lot of steps involved. It's the first time you're ever doing it, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of things that you don't know what to do, and you're getting hit with surprise after surprise essentially in that process.
Yeah.
So, I think, and you think you would agree on that, is it's very important for the agent to not only be there for their clients, but also
Hmm.
communicate and make them feel like that they're always going to be there with them as well. And would you say that, constant communication of either of updates, right? Constant updates
Yep.
of either good news or bad news. Because I think a lot of agents, they tend to shy away from delivering bad news because they don't want to seem like things are not going well. And they, sometimes might even feel like that if they deliver bad news, they seem incompetent. But, what would you say, like, how important is it for agents to stay in constant contact with their clients and give them constant updates so that they do feel like you're with them every step of the way?
Yeah, and that's not a one size fits all answer either, because there's some people, depending on how seasoned they are in the real estate process, maybe they're investors or maybe they've gone through the home buying process 6 7 times, and they're at the seventh time they're like, listen, dude, I don't want to know unless it's like crucial, unless it's super important. Don't tell me, deal with it, and then come to me when you need my input. Right? So you want to make sure that you're asking them, hey, how do you want me to communicate with you? Here are some possibilities that may come up. And especially if you have some sense or you've asked the question about how seasoned they are. Have they done this before? How many times have they done this before? What is their end goal? What looks like a win for them in this process? Start asking those questions and then tailor your communication to that, because they may say, "Hey, you know what? I only want you to communicate with me once a week. Give me the summary. Give me the cliff notes of all of this on Fridays. Everything else, just deal with it. I trust you, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, just make sure that you understand what expectations the client has and not make assumptions about it."
Yeah. And that's a big point as well. I think from just what we've been talking about is you never want to make assumptions, right? You always treat everybody. And I think this is a funny thing, which is, when we're little, we're taught like we have to treat everybody how we want to be treated, but really in reality, you want to treat people how they want to be treated, right? Because everybody has, like you said, different experiences, different, they have different goals even, right? If they're an investor, they don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to know every step of the process. But if you're a first time home buyer getting in your first home, then you want to be as involved as possible with that. So as an agent, you have to be able to navigate that and
Yeah.
understand, what does the client need? When do they need me to communicate with them, and how they want that information to be communicated as well? Because sometimes people want that information communicated very quickly, right? Very fast, concise. But sometimes certain clients, right, like a first time home buyer, just for an example, not everybody's like that, but just as an example, might want
Yeah.
you to sit down and explain everything to them, right? Just so that they know what's on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. And understanding who the buyers are. So for example, sometimes it may be a couple, right? And one partner wants to be communicated with a certain way, and the other partner is like, whatever. In the case of me and my wife wanted all the details. She wants to understand everything, all, and I'm kind of like, whatever. If it's crucial, let me know. If I need to sign something, let me know. If we need to spend extra money, let me know. But if we're talking about, okay, yeah, this wall needs painting in the house, or little details, I don't need you to call me to say all of that. My wife, on the other hand, so you want to make sure that we don't, again, make assumptions about how people want to be communicated with, and we set up agreements from the beginning about what we expect in our interactions.
Yeah, setting the right expectations, right? That's another great,
Yeah.
great little nugget that I got from that, was you have to set
Yeah.
the expectations up front in order for the
Mhm.
communication process to go really smoothly down the line as you're working with your clients. So that's really important there. So I think I want to shift a little bit as far as our conversation to the video side, right? Because there's a lot of
Yep.
agents, especially now, who are taking full advantage of video marketing, right? They're doing podcasts like this. A lot of them
Yeah.
are on YouTube, and they're actually doing really well on YouTube, as a strategy to market and generate leads, right? A lot of home tours we see out there. So what are some tips that you have for agents to connect better with their clients on video? Because it's one thing to put out a video, right?
Yeah.
But it's another to actually connect with your audience to get them to actually want to work with you as your preferred real estate agent.
There are a lot of different tips, and it depends on the person. Are you a new agent? Are you a more experienced agent who has been in the industry for a while and you're just trying to get into video now? There are a lot of different things. I see agents doing virtual tours on some of their channels, and that's fine. Um, but if that is the main space that you're looking to get leads, then you may also want to add in some personality to that. So is it just I'm doing a virtual or I'm doing a home tour where I'm showing you the different rooms of the house, or do I have the camera turned around and I'm literally walking you through the house saying, "Hey, this room is here. I envision this as, a place where people can play, or it's the man cave, or whatever it is." So start adding some personality to that. Be real, be authentic, be vulnerable. Tell them what this house reminds you of. Whatever it is. And it may not necessarily even need to be a house. If you're trying to do video and you're saying, you know what, I want to master this particular zip code, or I want to master this particular area. Okay, what happens in that area? What are the five best restaurants and take your camera along with you, or give somebody your phone as you're walking into the restaurant, and you can speak to the waiter, the host, or whoever it is, and ask them a question about the restaurant. Why is their restaurant so good? What are the parks like? What is the public transportation like in that area? I've got a video on my YouTube channel about 5 top videos that agents can include in as they're thinking about video marketing. So yeah, just be real, be authentic, connect with people, because people like people. They
That's
buy from people. Yeah.
That's true. People do like
Yeah.
people. And I guess like like something I think about all the time is there's a lot of agents, especially newer agents, I would think,
Yeah.
who are struggling to get on video, right? They're not necessarily comfortable. And I think they put a lot of thought into just being perfect, right? They see these seasoned, video marketers out there. They see, everything super polished and edited well. Would you say people are spending a little bit, maybe too much thought and energy into looking and sounding perfect rather than just turning the camera on and just kind of showing people behind the
Yeah.
scenes, this is me, this is how I would market this home, this is how it would feel like, working with me as your agent.
Yeah, yeah. They say comparison is the thief of joy, right? And so if you spend your time comparing yourself to everybody else that you see, then you're slowing your own process down. Some people come and they see Robert on camera, right? Robert's on a podcast, Robert's on the live stream, and Robert's got different cameras. Robert's got different views that he's showing. And we're like, oh my gosh, this it's clear, and you can see the back of his head and the side of it, and he's doing all that stuff, and I gotta get 5,000 cameras. No, you don't. All you need is this little device right here, right? And you can start out with just using what you have. Start where you are. That's one thing. Some people say that they're nervous about getting on camera, or they don't know what to say. Well, who says you have to do it by yourself? If you're an agent in an office or on a team, you might say, you know what? Let me get together with Kobe, and we're going to have a conversation about top trends in the market. Or we're going to have a conversation about this recent report from The Economist that said, don't buy in 2024. The market is going to even out in 2025. So start thinking about then, right? We're gonna have a conversation about that. It's easier to be yourself in a conversation than to try to figure out how to show up as authentic when you're by yourself and you're figuring out, oh my gosh, where do I need to look? So, as a tip, if you want to start getting on camera, have some conversations with some of your colleagues about topics that are of concern to clients and potential customers, and you can always chop that stuff up. It's content. You speak for 20 minutes, you can chop that up into a lot of different 60-second, repurpose them into 60-second videos, and you just use those as reels on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, whatever you want to do. Keep it simple, keep it easy.
Yeah, I love that. Just keep it simple, right? You don't want to put more barriers into like, trying to do what you want to do, right? So you don't want to make it harder than it already is, right? To
Yep.
get on camera by, thinking you have to get 50,000 cameras and have all these
Yep.
different angles and the professional microphone and everything like that. And
Yeah.
I do think it is a lot easier to have a conversation with somebody else, right? In like a podcast form. I think that's one of the reasons why podcasts are very popular, not just for like people who are doing it, but also people who are listening to it, because you're really getting
Yep.
a behind the scenes kind of, oh, this is how these people interact like on a normal daily basis. And there's a real, authentic, raw feeling to it that I think a lot of
Yep.
people enjoy, right? In these types of conversations. So, sitting down with a colleague, right? Sitting down with another person on your team, having those conversations, it makes things easier. And also another thing is, and you can probably touch on this as well, is you get a lot better at communicating on video as you do more of it, right? The more you
Yes.
do it, the better you get at it.
Absolutely. And make it about something that you care about. I think one of the challenges for people in getting on camera is they think they have to talk about specific topics or specific ideas. What is it that you love about real estate? What is it that you care about? Are you, as I mentioned, the restaurants before, are you a foodie? Do you like food? Okay, yep. I'm going to talk about the food in this area. Are you an outdoors person and you like to hike, or you like to cycle, or you like to ride? Okay, yeah, let's talk about the parks in your area. And as you're cycling, do a little show of the community or the neighborhood. Start with stuff that is easy and comfortable for you and stuff that you like doing or you would be doing anyway, even if you weren't on camera. Start there.
Yeah. And that's, that does really help make it a lot easier, right? And make it a lot more fun because the last thing you want to do is like make it seem like a chore, right? When
Yep.
you're doing these videos, because it does come through, right? It comes through when you're doing the videos, it comes through while you're on camera and communicating versus like let's just say you're a super outdoorsy person, you love walking, hiking the trails in your neighborhood parks and
Yep.
communities, right? It comes through in your energy as you're delivering that as well if you have a camera with you showing people the walking trails and everything like that. And you're connecting with the type of clients, right? The audience that connects with you as
Yep.
well. And you're speaking that same language, which again makes it so much easier, right? Working with people that are like similar to you rather than people who have
Right.
like no interest in the outdoors and are turned off by that, right? Because you always
Yep.
want to think about who you're working with in that sense as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, one of the other things like on video is instead of just recording the video, right, which a lot of people are doing for their marketing, the other aspect of video is video meetings, right? Like kind of the
Hmm.
ones that we're on right now when we're recording these podcasts and also, a lot of Zoom meetings that agents are doing, even if they are local, I think agents are doing Zoom meetings as well with clients and even with clients who are out of state or in different cities that are maybe moving to their area, right? What are some, because I think a lot of agents, they, who are not familiar or they're not comfortable doing a lot of Zoom meetings, right? Maybe they're just more comfortable doing in-person meetings, have now began to use Zoom and Google Meet, different things like that a lot more. And, I see a lot of times when I'm meeting with agents on Zoom, they're not doing a great job of seeming professional, right? It's probably the best
Yeah.
way I can put it together. So what are some things you think that you've seen that agents are not doing correctly, right? Whether if it's their background, their camera angle, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe it's just, not being on their computer or their laptop and just being on their phone. What are some things you think agents need to be doing that they're not currently doing on video meetings and conferences to make them better communicators?
Man, we could do an entire episode on just that. There's so many different things from the lighting. So there are three simple things that I want agents or small business owners to be aware of as they're getting on video meetings. It's audio, video, and lighting. So what is your lighting like? Maybe okay, you don't have studio lighting, but do you have natural lighting, and where is it? Okay, if you've got natural lighting, make sure that's not behind you. Make sure it's in front of you or at the side or at an angle in some way. Lighting, audio. Do you have a microphone that is not just your laptop microphone? Laptop microphone is okay, but if you want to sound closer, if you want to sound a little bit more pro, get a little bit more quality, get an external microphone. And that can be something as simple as a Samsung Q2U, which is only about 60 bucks, and it's a USB microphone, sounds super sexy, and you can just plug it into the side of your computer, right? Super easy. Okay, audio, lighting, and then video. What do you look like on camera? Get a webcam. Sometimes, although the webcams in the computers or the laptops are pretty decent, if you want to upgrade that, you want to invest in a webcam like an Insta360 Link. Okay, a couple $100. That's gonna get you super really nice 4K. It can follow you around the room if you're moving around. So that's really nice. You can also use your phone as a webcam sometimes, depending on what system you're on. But there's so many different things that you can do with the equipment these days. But with regard to Zoom and the meetings, things that I think people want to be able to do, you want to engage your audience. It's one thing to look good when they come in the room. How do you engage with them? First of all, eye contact. Secondly, if you're using Zoom specifically, Zoom has this really neat feature called a waiting room, and one of the things they do allow you to do is have a video. Okay, so a lot of people don't use this. You can have a video in your waiting room. So while people are waiting on you, you can begin to share some of your personality and energy or resources that you want people to know about. You can talk about that, and they can be looking and engaged and having a conversation in some ways with you before you actually let them in the room. That's another really great thing to do. Last thing I'll mention is you've got on Zoom and other platforms as well a polling feature. You might want to just say to your audience or your client or your prospect that's in the meeting, hey, listen, I'm glad that we're working together. I'm collecting some information from all of my clients. Would you mind sharing with me what your thought is about this? Here's how you can do it. I just want to collect it by having you just put your answer in this poll and pop up a poll and then let them engage with the poll and do something different. So you're engaging different senses. They're not just listening to you. Now they're interacting with you kinesthetically. They're touching, they're looking, they're doing something different. And you want to engage in that way, and that allowing people to engage in different ways creates even more sticky conversations.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's, you want to engage people in all kinds of different, they're different senses, right? Like you mentioned, like
Yeah.
polling, right? They're not just kind of sitting and talking. They're also, just they're on their computers, right? And that
Yeah.
sticks more in their memory as far as, with the things you're talking to them about and who you are as well versus, somebody else who just comes on, maybe they're on their phone or driving or something on Zoom and they're not even looking down at you because they don't want to crash right on the road. And it's a
Right.
completely different that's a completely different way of communicating, right? It's a completely different feeling for the person on the other end of that. And that's something that, I didn't even know about is on the Zoom waiting room, you can include a video
Yeah.
of you and like a marketing
Yeah.
piece, I guess.
Yeah, and think about it. I mean, if you let's say that you have a 10:30 meeting with somebody. They show up 5 minutes early and they click the Zoom and they're there waiting. Let's say that something happens, your kid comes in or something happens and you're 2 minutes late, right? So for 7 minutes they're sitting there, nothing's happening, and they're focused on something else. What if you took that 7 minutes, leveraged that, and gave them some additional information that would connect them with you, shared with them something of value, so that by the time you get on to the conversation with them, they're already engaged, they're ready to move. They have some sense, especially if it's the first time, they have some sense of your personality, and they don't have to warm up to you anymore because they've already warmed up in the waiting room.
Wow. That's really good. So I had no idea that was even a feature. So
Mhm.
I have a lot more questions about that. Just kind of off the top of my head. So like, so would you, is there a certain limit or not limit, but is there a certain time you would try to keep that video in the Zoom waiting room? Maybe like 5, 10 minutes, because maybe like, you're probably not, people are probably not waiting in the waiting room for like 20 minutes, right? Or 30 minutes. If
Right.
they are, just move on to the next meeting. So is there a limit or a time do you think is the most efficient for that waiting room video?
Depends on what your purpose is. I would keep it to 90 seconds, 90 seconds to 2 minutes maximum. So it's really, as you mentioned, it's a marketing piece. It's something that brands you. It's something that shares with them, um, who you are, shows your personality, and can even share with them some of the things that we were talking about earlier in the episode. Hey, listen, if you're a first time home buyer, I remember my first time home buyer's experience, and I had to go through 8 different steps. I know we're going to meet in just a few moments, but just as a preface to our meeting, here are the 8 steps that you can start thinking about. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I'm not going to go into in detail in this video, but I want you to know about them. When we get into this room, ask me. Right. And so now they've come into this meeting with some questions for you like, oh my gosh, I didn't know all of that. Tell me a little bit more about that home inspection deal and what I need to be careful about when I think about home inspections.
Wow. So that's really good because one of the big things I think a lot of people struggle with on Zoom meetings is they struggle to warm up, right? There's
Mhm.
like this warm up period and it's super awkward in like the first 2, 3 minutes when they're
Yep.
trying to kind of start the conversation, but they don't really know what to do, right? And the other person, especially, right, they're not warming up to you necessarily, right? They want to know more about you as well, but you're trying to, not give too much information and you're trying to figure out what the best way to approach that is as well. So I think that is a really, really good tip and a really good feature. If anybody's out there who uses Zoom a lot, I'm gonna set that up later today probably.
Yep.
So that's a really, really great feature. But no, thank you for sharing that. I that was something that I didn't even know about as well. But yeah, so let's so the one thing think I want to wrap up with this episode with is just talking a little bit more on the leadership perspective, right? Because there's a lot of people out there who are listening to this that are team leaders. They're looking to start their real estate teams as well, bring some agents in, or maybe their brokerage owner as well. As a leader, I think the biggest struggle that, people have is being able to transfer their skill sets and their knowledge to the people that they are trying to motivate and lead, right? That's the
Yeah.
biggest struggle for a lot of people because, they always feel like if you're a leader, you're probably a high performer. They always feel like people who are under their kind of management or working with them should be performing at a higher level, right? So they're always trying to communicate with them and motivate them better. So what are some things that they could be doing in order to, be patient, but also communicate their value and their skill sets and knowledge to those people that they're trying to bring up and motivate, so that they can perform at the best of their abilities.
Yeah. John Maxwell has this really neat statement where he says that leaders should be far enough ahead to motivate people and yet close enough to touch them if something happens, right? So a lot of times as leaders, we figure out, okay, yep, I'm just going to lead. I'm just going to go. And if catch me if you can, just keep up with me. And that can work in some cases if you've got a driven group of people that are going to run right with you or run right behind you. But if you've got newbies, people who are not really clear or a little bit nervous about the process, you've got to figure out how to maintain inspiration or motivation for them. And this goes right back to the conversation that we had about how to speak to clients. Ask questions, right? What does this new agent or what does this agent or what does this team member want? What results are they after? Are they looking to sell 5 million? What GCI are they looking for that year? Are they part-time? Are they full-time in real estate, or do they still have another gig and they're only able to do a certain amount of time? Know what their goals are. Know what their goals are, and then help them figure out how they can accomplish those goals. Not Notice I didn't say find out their goals and then tell them what to do. Right? Find out what their goals are and then co-create or help them craft a plan that will allow them to achieve those goals. The last thing inside of all of that is each leader, each organization, each team has to have a vision. If there is no vision for the entire team, if it's a bunch of individuals that come to say, yep, we just want to sell homes and we want to make money this year. Okay, that's cool. Right. But as a team, as a brokerage, as a group, what is the overall vision? Where are you headed? What picture have you painted so that all of them can say, oh, yeah, I see myself in that picture. And here's how I can contribute to that. So ask questions, help them figure out how to generate the results that they want and create a vision.
Making sure you're asking questions, right? That's like a huge point, I think, of this episode, of this interview, is knowing who what people want, and then helping
Yeah.
them create it together instead of telling
Yeah.
them what to do, right? Because
Yeah.
when it's their goals or when it's their plan, it's much more likely they follow through with it rather than something that they're listening to, just like you're telling them exactly what to do, right? They're not necessarily going to follow through on that quite as much or with quite as much passion as if the plan was something that they came up with themselves or you guys came up with together, right? That's
Yeah.
much more powerful. And I think we will wrap up with this last question here. And this applies to both clients, right, and agents if you're a leader. And that is whenever people start kind of falling off the map, if you will, if people start not communicating with you back, right? They're starting to maybe ghost you a little bit. Sometimes agents, right? They're a little bit concerned, leaders as well, if they have a up and coming agent or a top producer who are not engaging with them or who are not, following, having that back and forth anymore. What strategy do you have to re-engage people so that way you can follow up with them, but not in an annoying or unnatural way?
Yeah. So, especially in this day and age, in this time that we're living in, um, I don't like telling people what they should do, but I'm going to break that rule just for a second. As real estate agents, we should be constantly creating value. We should be constantly creating updates or being in a space of expertise. Not that we need to know everything, but we've got to be curious and share with people our curiosity. So that simply means, okay, create content, create information that is snackable, that people can consume easily, and they can gain new information from. So if you've been ghosted by somebody, you can then just reach out via email, via text, and say, hey, John, hey, Bill, hey, Mary, listen, we haven't spoken in about 3 months, but I did this video the other day that made me think of you. Here's this 60-second clip. I just let me know what you think about it. Right. And just share something low pressure. You're not saying, hey, when are you going to come back and let me sell your house? you just keep it simple and lean into the fact that you thought about them and there was something about your relationship that prompted this thought in your brain.
Yeah. Value, right? You can't,
Yep.
I wouldn't say you can't go wrong with value, but you usually
Yeah.
can't go wrong with adding value, because the worst thing that
Right.
happens is they see it, doesn't really connect with them, but they appreciate that you're sharing value with them. So that's a
Yep.
really, really good tip as well. But Robert, man, I appreciate you being on the show. I think we covered a ton of information today,
We
and
did.
it was extremely valuable for me even, and for a lot of our listeners as well. So for people that want to connect with you, that maybe want to participate in one of your programs, one of your training programs as well, what are some of the best ways for people to either find you on your socials, to check out? I know you mentioned you had a YouTube channel. What are some of the best ways for people to connect with you and to continue following you and what you're doing?
Yeah. The easiest way to reach out is my website or my main page. Get in touch with rk3.com. All of my socials are there, YouTube channel, everything, anything that we are doing. For example, we've got a webinar coming up soon called Small Talk Stories and Sales. And that's about how to get rid of the awkwardness in networking and conversations and how to utilize stories and ultimately lead to sales inside of all of that. So get in touch with rk3.com is the easiest way to do it. As a matter of fact, this last question that you asked about ghosting on my YouTube channel, there's this video that I have, why you're getting ghosted by your real estate clients. So go watch that.
I love it, man. And we'll make sure to leave that in the description, the show notes down below, so that people can find you. And make sure to go check out Robert's information and his YouTube channel as well. There's a ton of value on there too. But other than that, man, hey, appreciate you being here. Before we let you go, is there any last pieces of advice, any last tips you want to just leave with us here today before we let you sign off here?
Wow. Wow. So I'll just lean into a quote by Zig Ziglar, which says, motivation is like a bath. We recommend it daily. Right? Get inspired daily. Don't just read a personal development book once a month or once every quarter. Whatever it is that you can do to get your mind set in a space of positivity and success daily, do that. It doesn't have to be 2 hours, it can be 30 seconds, but surround yourself by positivity and go on out there and change the world.
I love it, man. I love it. Great advice. Robert, thanks again for being here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you on the next show. Take care.